Every parent wants their kid to have a good school year, perhaps especially after the remote learning that parents and kids have been forced to endure. Well, here are some questions that should help. These are questions my clients have asked me, and my answers. Parent asks, my daughter hasn't grown in reading and probably lost some because of last year's mainly remote teaching. What should I do? My answer, listen to how your daughter tackles the hard words. Does she mainly try to sound them out? Remember how to pronounce the whole word or try to figure them out from context. That's your child's default strategy. Next, decide whether you want to encourage further use of that default strategy or build up another strategy. In any case, creating custom flashcards can really help. For example, if you want to build your child's phonics skills, each time she struggles with a word, ask her to sound it out. At the part of the word that she struggles with, teach the child that phoneme. For example, say sh is pronounced, sh is pronounced like sh, like the beginning of the word shoe, or shit. Yes, make it fun. Then write that phoneme, that letter or three, on an index card. When you've created at least a few flashcards, test your child on them, praising correct answers and gently correcting wrong ones. Use the same process if you're trying to build sight words. For example, each word that stops your child, you say, you've seen that word, guess. Write it on a flashcard. If you're trying to improve contextual reading, when your child gets stuck on a word, ask, what would make sense from the words around it? Ask comprehension questions. Is the problem not a reading problem, but a thinking problem? If so, or to find out, ask more comprehension questions. And if your child answers poorly, offer a better answer. If it's a vocabulary problem, create flashcards for words whose meanings your child doesn't understand. If your child would be better off getting such tutoring from someone else other than a parent, maybe hire a retired teacher, or even a patient, smart high school or college student. Also decide whether to contact the teacher with a tactful question like, my child is struggling with reading. I've tried, and then you insert what you've been doing. Anything else you'd like me to try? Not only will that possibly get you custom advice from the teacher, a professional at it, tactfully it motivates the teacher to do more. No matter what, encourage your child to read books or articles at their independent reading level, that is, what they can comfortably read without help. Of course, they should pick stories and topics that they'd find interesting. Also, you should read aloud books at their instructional level, material in which your child could read and understand maybe 80 to 90% of the words and 80 to 90% of the content. Have your child sit alongside you and run your finger along the words as you're reading them aloud. Much will be learned from your child seeing what words in print correspond to the words that are spoken. Reading aloud is also a great parent-child bonding activity, even for older kids. The next question, a parent asked me, my child doesn't like his teacher, what should I do? My response, ask your child, what don't you like about your teacher? If you don't get an adequate answer, ask, is she mean to you? Make the work too hard or too easy? Something else? If that doesn't unearth the problem, ask, what's the first thing you did in school today? Did the teacher do anything bad? And go through enough of the school day to get the picture. Once you've identified the basis for your child's disenchantment with the teacher, ask one or more of these questions. Why do you think the teacher did that? And what do you think you should do about it? If your questioning suggests a legitimate concern about the teacher, whether by email, text, phone, or in person, or Zoom, ask the teacher tactfully about it. For example, my child says you're nicer to the girls than to the boys, and you call on them more and yell at boys more. I'm sure that's not true, but what should I say to my child? The next question a parent asked me is, my child finds school too easy. He says he's bored and fools around in class. He said, the teacher spends all the time teaching the dumb kids. The teacher has emailed me expressing her frustration with my child, even suggesting he try Ritalin. I don't think he's hyperactive. He's just bored in school. What should I do? My response, first verify that boredom really is the problem. Look at his schoolwork, worksheets, reading material, his writing. Is it all done well? If it's done poorly, does it seem the result of rushing through boring, easy material, or because he doesn't understand it? If you're not sure, ask him questions to find out. For example, if there's a math error, ask, how'd you get that answer? If in fact most of the work seems too easy, it may be time to tactfully query the teacher. For example, my child is complaining that the schoolwork is too easy. I've looked at a lot of it, and where he makes errors, it's mainly because he finds it easy and thus not important, so he rushes through it. Any suggestions for what I or we might do? In addition, of course, think about supplementing school with more challenging but fun after-school activities. My own daughter enjoyed going to an after-school science program. Another question that a parent asked me, my child said, "My homework is stupid." As a child, I felt the same way. What should I do? My response, you might start with, why do you think your teacher assigned it? To be mean? Hopefully that'll elicit a chuckle and maybe some introspection that'll help her understand. You might also ask, if you were the teacher, what homework would you give that wasn't stupid? If you feel the homework generally seems reasonable, briefly explain to your child. For example, this assignment helps you be a better thinker, and thinking well is maybe the most important skill of all, now and throughout your life. Then in a playful voice, ask, do your homework, and after, show it to me. And then, what's something fun you'd want to do? If the homework is consistently too easy or too hard, or seeming meaningless, a tactful email to the teacher may be appropriate. Another question a parent asked me, my child is learning a lot about multiculturalism, bullying, sex education, and drug education, and in 5th grade math, seemingly unimportant material such as how to calculate the area under a parabola. It seems he's not spending much time on reading, critical thinking, and math reasoning like estimation and probability, which are important. Should I worry whether the tail is wagging the dog? My response, yes, political pressures have pushed the curriculum in those other directions. I must admit being puzzled by the curriculum's focus on arcane math that the vast majority of students never use in their entire life. I recall a presentation in an auditorium of education administrators, and the speaker said, now we're all going to take an 8th grade algebra test. Terror filled the audience's faces. A few of them raced to the exit. The speaker said, I'm only kidding, but you get the point. Raise your hand if you use algebra in your life. Only 1 or 2 did. The speaker then said, then why the hell do we subject all kids to it? Shouldn't that be left for high school students who are confident they'll need algebra for their career, for example, budding engineers? Putting that aside, reality is that although PTAs and larger parent groups have long tried to change the curriculum, the system, both K-12 and the professors who developed K-12 curriculum, as well as political forces, have stonewalled such efforts. After kids graduate, the parents' motivation to keep pushing for curricular change wanes, and so here we are. This is all a perhaps too thorough way of explaining that you probably need to provide opportunities to develop critical thinking, estimation, and probability. You, not just the school. Here are some examples. In the supermarket, ask questions such as, what do you think are the steps that go from an apple seed to our being able to buy it here in the supermarket for 49 cents? Or if you're about to buy something for $6.49, ask, how much change would you estimate I'll get if I pay with a $10 bill? Look at this headline. Why do you think the journalist chose that? Is that value neutral or does it reflect a bias? Make the case. Another example, when your family or society has a problem, ask, what's the real problem here, the root problem? What do you think are its causes? What are possible solutions? If those approaches seem inadequate, might it be worth considering a school where central subjects of reading, writing, mathematical reasoning, and critical thinking are emphasized? Another question a parent asked me is, my son isn't social. After school he just wants to read, listen to music, or play basketball by himself. What should I do? My response, I understand the temptation to make your child well-rounded, and especially to be social, since that's important for both personal and professional success. But I'd be inclined to let your child be who he is. Remember, he has opportunities for social interaction throughout the school day, and later in life he may, for example, want to join a basketball team and have social interaction that way. That said, it certainly couldn't hurt to ask your child if he'd like to invite a particular kid home after school or on the weekend, maybe joining the family on an outing. Another question a parent asked is, my child hates piano lessons, but it's only been 6 months. What should I do? My answer, only a small percentage of kids have enough talent and interest to make music lessons worth the opportunity cost, that is, what he or she could otherwise do with the time. 6 months is enough to assess that. Maybe only a minor pivot would work. For example, a music teacher who focuses on teaching kids to play by ear rather than read music, or a different instrument. But if the problem really is little talent or interest, it's wiser to have your child build on natural strengths and preferences. It strikes me that for the not musically talented, the benefits of disciplined piano practice are no more defensible than the long-abandoned requirement that all students learn Latin. Another question a parent asks me is, my child wants to try out for the high school football team. We're afraid of his getting hurt. What should I do? My response, the media trumpets the disasters, the concussions, the heat stroke, and so on. That makes it hard for parents to be rational about it. But the overwhelming majority of high school football players get minor or no injuries, nowhere near enough to outweigh the pleasure and personal growth that kids get from high school sports. Especially if the coach is a good role model who prizes developing the players as people, and your child is motivated to do the work needed to be a good player, I would allow, indeed support, his playing football. I would, however, try to be a model sports parent, providing modest praise for good effort and sportsmanship, mild disappointment for the opposite, with less caring about who won and who lost. Final question is that a parent asked is, I'm begging my high school junior to get serious about preparing for college, studying for the SAT, picking out colleges and so on. He says, leave me alone, I'll do it, but he never does. What should I do? My response, despite the maelstrom of panicky high school parents, focusing too much on choosing and getting into the, quote, right college usually matters far less than many parents and educators think. For example, if your child never studies for the SAT and applies only to local community college, even if your child is bright, it could be for the best. Not just the cost saving, not just spending another year maturing at home rather than a dorm, that hothouse for ill-advised behavior and too noisy place to study. Instruction at community college is generally better because, unlike at four-year colleges, especially prestigious ones, faculty is hired and promoted largely on their research, not their teaching ability. And while a brand name on a diploma is a plus, the often poor teaching often balances it out. That said, it's worth investigating why your son isn't being more diligent regarding college. Is he wise in feeling he needs at least a gap year before going to college? Is he irrationally too worried about leaving home? Should he be considering an apprenticeship or the military or learning on the job? Is he irrationally worried that college courses will be too hard? Is he reluctant to leave a romantic partner? Have a candid exploration with your child. That could well result in your child being more motivated to work on college applications or help you understand that he has a better idea. In any event, if you have a question about your child's education, I welcome your emailing me. My email address is mnemko@comcast.net. That's MNEMKO@comcast.net. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.